We knew everything that was in there. There's no surprises. Project was over. Maybe a couple months later, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? No problem. So it was successful, not just during and not just at the launch, but also after. And it's because there was no surprises for anyone. And again, flexibility from the ERPA consultant at that time for that project was excellent. So yeah, again, another successful outcome and quite painless, I would say.
Hello, friends. I'm Jeff Miller from ERPA, and you're listening to The Possibility Perspective, the show where we talk to strategic-minded Workday customers who partner with ERPA for a better Workday experience. So you've been a Workday customer forever. In fact, since Workday was still in its infancy. Is it possible to outgrow Workday, or is Workday innovative enough to evolve with you over the course of so many years? Well, it's a success story for MSCI, and they sat down with me on the Possibility Perspective podcast to reflect on their long Workday journey. Today, we're joined by Nick Fassero, MSCI's Executive Director of Business Technology. With such a long history on Workday, he shares how Workday and MSCI have evolved together over the years and why they still choose Workday today. Nick will share how MSCI has achieved an incredible level of employee self-service with Workday. He'll also tell us how they're leveraging ERPA as their Workday partner for support and to help with significant projects involving payroll, a significant studio integration, and an advanced comp implementation. In his own words, Nick will explain why ERPA is such a great fit for his team and how ERPA's named resources serve as an accelerator for him and his Workday team at MSCI. Lots to cover in this episode, so let's get started. Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today on the Possibility Perspective. Great to have you on the show. I'm excited about our conversation. I know we're going to get into some wonderful stories here. But first, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and then also a little bit about the organization that you work for, including your employee count.
All right. Sounds good. And thank you, Jeff, for having me. I'm very excited to be here and really look forward to having a chat with you today. So yeah, my name is Nick Fassero. I'm the head of HR technology at MSCI. I haven't been in MSCI too long, actually. It'll be 3 years soon. I recently taken on payroll technology. And for the personal side, I've been in the HR technology space for just over 20 years. So I feel like it's been a while now, right? Or you know, does it feel like it? But it has been a while. I think it's been a while in a good way because in those 20 years, there's been a real massive evolution of HR technology, So for me, 20 years means actually from the old on-premise days of the PeopleSoft world to now, which we're really talking about cloud solutions, AI, machine learning. It's just a whole different world from where it started. So that's been a really exciting journey for me. I've mostly worked in financial services, but I'm also had some other experiences like pharma, medical devices, and even a nonprofit, which maybe a story for another day. But the bulk of my experience has been in financial services, which leads me to MSCI. MSCI is actually a spin-off of Morgan Stanley. Henry Fernandez is the founder, and just the easiest way to explain it, one of the kind of the key focuses is in the index space, right? So if you know the S&P 500, that's an index. MSCI is responsible for a bunch of indexes, and they're hugely popular and very broadly used across the financial world. So we're a company based in New York, but geographically speaking, very dispersed, very diverse, and with teams all over. From a role perspective, my role as head of HR technology is really just from strategic design through implementation, through optimization, really leading, maintaining, and overseeing all of our HR technology solutions. Workday being one of them, not just one of them, but obviously one of the key ones, to say the least. Just a interesting thing to add there, right? If you're ever interested in reading more about MSCI or Henry, I would actually say there's this new book that I just started reading, Stratospheric CEOs. I just recommend it. I just got back from vacation and I was reading this book. It's not just about our CEO, it's about a bunch of CEOs, but it's very interesting, very fascinating to read. So it's a short read. It's not super long, but hugely interesting read.
Awesome. Great recommendation. Thank you for that introduction of yourself and MSCI. And then you also threw in Workday. So I want to shift to Workday. MSCI has a unique Workday journey When did you go live on Workday, and what do you like about being a Workday customer? You've been with Workday for a long time.
Yeah, this is interesting, right? And we've been a Workday customer since 2008.
Okay.
So I was just speaking to someone on my team. I guess we're close to our 20th year anniversary of Workday, right? Not so far. I was
Check.
thinking we're 3 years away, really,
Check.
which is amazing, right? So we were one of the early adapters. I was not here for that, honestly, but there's someone on my team that was, which is very interesting, right? So I mean, you're talking about way back in the day,
Yep.
way back in the days. And what's been key for us and what makes Workday such a great platform for us is that obviously, since MSCI has been around, we've evolved as a firm, and Workday has certainly evolved with us, right? So from where we started to where we started using Workday, which at the beginning was just a very simple HCM centric tool, to where Workday is now for us, which is really covering a lot more than HCM. We can get into that, of course, but there's been a massive evolution, and Workday was obviously able to do more back in 2008, but we weren't ready maybe at that time for more. But also, Workday is, you know, has evolved just like we are, right? I mean, the way we take advantage of Workday today has significantly changed from what it was, back then. So yeah, we go use Workday since 2008. It's the way it's changed is, really has been, something that's, it's amazing. It's also because of our great team that I manage a team of, it's not a very big team. Made that from support Workday is just about a dozen or so. But we've having some people that have been there for most of that journey has also meant that we've built some pretty impressive expertise, knowledge, and it's also empowered us in a great way. The more product since for so long has really made us in a way very self-sufficient, and it's empowered us. So we have tremendous confidence in Workday and in how it suits us as a firm.
I love that. And I love the story of evolution. Could you share a little bit more on how MSCI and Workday have evolved together? And then I'm really curious, you and I had talked earlier about the high level of self-service that you've been able to achieve at MSCI and how that's game changing for you. So if you talk about those things a little bit more, I'd love to hear more about it.
The key thing for us is as we take on, and this also goes back to the culture at our firm, right? We're a financial services firm, but we're very passionate about technology. So and it starts from our CIO down, right? We're passionate about technology. We're passionate about building solutions. We're passionate about fixing things, making things better. You name it, right? That's just something that's just in the DNA of the firm for sure. So our evolution, again, starting with a basic HCM product, it started as something as simple as that, right? Because that was at the time a lot less employees, a lot less need for maybe as robust HR processes and things like that. And as we have that and that growth for MSCI means that our demands for a proper HR platform have, of course, multiplied over those last 16, 17 plus years. So Workday in that sense has been a great partner, right? As we've evolved, there was always, okay, now we're ready for this, now we're ready for this, right? So there's being ready for something. Hey, I really need to think about talent management. I really think about total rewards, right? So there's a difference between being ready for it and knowing how to do it. And thankfully, because we've been as you worked there for so long, again, that expertise has grown organically over time, and we really pride ourselves on being that expert, right? On taking the time to learn the product, whether it's Workday training, hands-on work within the tool, anything it takes. We really have become very self-sufficient. And I don't know how many times a year we reach out to Workday. It's very minimal, very minimal. I would have to think back, and every time we meet with our customer support team, right, it'll be like I think they're quite impressed because we are just it's not that we don't want to engage, because I quite enjoy speaking with the folk there, but there's just not a huge need. We really have been able to do a lot. And for us, again, it's important because we want to deliver for our customers, for our stakeholders in the most agile and nimble way possible. I'm not going to tell one of my stakeholders, hey, I'll come back to you in 30 days or something like that. That's not what we want to do. We want to bring solutions. We want to fix business problems. And my vision of HR technology is HR is is basically a frictionless experience, right? So I want anything I'm supporting, it should be essentially as frictionless as humanly possible, right? So we're not in the way. Actually, you should not see us too much. You should not feel us too much. You should just, things should work. So less touch points, less interactions, less everything, right? Because we feel like our contribution should be to allow the business, our stakeholders, our your customers, whoever it is, to be able to do their job as quickly, as efficiently as they possibly can. So I try to actually not be in the way, And again, Workday has been great. And you see, as part of Workday's evolution, that they've done some tremendous things to also to empower the customers, even little things or things that you think are little, right? I mean, and I'll give you one example, Jess. Workday Everywhere.
Hmm.
You would not think that would be some huge thing, but for us, it's been awesome. It's really. I remember one day I was in the office of our CHRO, and he said, "Why can't I just go into Microsoft Teams and approve timeouts?" This was, I forgot. This conversation was maybe like 3 years ago or less than 3 years ago. But anyway, I'm like, oh, that's a good question. Why can't we do that? So anyway, lo and behold, fast forward like a little while later, and we thought about that and this and that. But shortly after the conversation, Workday Everywhere.
Yep.
And I know I may have been out already, but it was, I think just like some things, right? There's a bit of an evolution with some of these products, which maybe takes some time. But Workday Everywhere was massively helpful for us, right? Because again, instead of going into Workday to approve time off, right? And now as a manager, right? Instead of going to Workday to submit time off, to approve time off, I'm doing it on Teams.
That's right.
And it's a great thing. I mean, you're talking about how do you make the lives easier for your business, for your customers, that it just minimize the time that they spend doing stuff, right? And that's what we're trying to do: help people focus on their job, not spending time in this system or that system.
I love it. Yeah. And minimizing their time is really the definition of frictionless, which is a great word you threw out. And I think everybody fully grasps it. Our listeners are nodding, saying, yes, that's exactly the system that we would love to live in. So very good. Now, how did you originally hear about ERPA as a Workday partner? And then why did you choose ERPA in the first place?
Yeah, so I think ERPA, if I think back, I'm pretty sure it was Workday that actually told us about ERPA. I mean, there's a bit of I think that Workday partner network was starting to expand a little bit, and my customer rep at the time mentioned ERP. I'm pretty sure it was kind of a chance, right? Because we were doing an RFP. I won't mention any names of competitors or anything like that, but we were looking at two other vendors at the time, and then Workday throws in ERPA into the mix. And I personally had not heard about you guys. We figured the person that was working with that Workday spoke very highly of you guys. And I remember speaking to Eric. I was like the first person I spoke to at ERP. I'm like, oh, I like this guy. He's a very casual, not salesy, no pushiness. Seems to be, and the relationship really developed very organically. That was the first good sign, right? But that's not all it takes to be a successful partner, right? You can have a good relationship, but it takes more, right? So then as we got into those deeper conversations, this was when we were evaluating for partner to help us with um, a payroll project. Payroll, obviously, it's a complex project. It's a delicate project, obviously. And on the business side, payroll team, huge experience and knowing exactly what they want. They were looking for a partner that really knew their stuff,
Right.
that had that deep subject matter expertise that could come in and give us the confidence. And sure enough, those conversations we had, like those early conversations, first of all, we felt the subject matter expertise was there. But more importantly, you can really sense how serious ERPA took the conversation, right? Because the team that was in those meetings, that tells me a lot, right? I mean, I've worked, again, over the last 20 something years, I've worked on a lot of RFPs, on a lot of implementations, on a lot of this, a lot of that. And the team that shows up to the pitch, you can tell it's a seasoned team. It's been around. They know what they're doing or not. And this was certainly a case where we can sense that, hey, these guys brought their A game. This is a team. You can tell right away. knew Workday, they knew payroll, they knew integrations, like all these key things, right? That we thought, okay, we need to make sure that this is a place, that's a place. So that's the second piece, right? You have the potential of a good relationship. You have the subject matter expertise. Two things are certainly important, but number three for us was someone that I can work with in a style that was good for us. And I just mentioned a little bit ago, right? Self sufficiency is for us key, right? I don't want to say, here's this requirement and you'll come back and X amount of time later, you'll come back with a solution. That's not really the way we work, right? We need to feel self-sufficient. We need to build as we work on something, we also need to build a skill set within the team,
Right.
right? So payroll was not a skill set
Yeah.
we had, right? But that's not something we just want to like completely outsource. We want to build and learn. And ERPA, what was a big selling point for me was that I think it was always a conversation, but we'll go at the pace that you guys want to go to, and we'll also work in the style that you want to work in, right? So that means so if we're flexible and you're flexible, right, that's going to go a long way. And that means I want my team to understand, okay, why are we changing this? How's it changing? And making sure we're looking at the downstream impact to con the benefits or anywhere else, right, where where there could be some impact. So at the end of the day, that flexibility to help us help ourselves, and that willingness to partner with us at a pace and in a style that was conducive to learning, Workday Payroll was very key. And I felt very strongly, hey, this is the kind of partner we need to give us that flexibility to let us, again, I don't want to go live with Workday Payroll and then maybe something goes wrong or something's not working and then we don't know what the heck we're doing. That's what nightmares are made out of when it comes to payroll. For sure, the partnership, the subject matter and the subject matter expertise, the style, the approach that ERPA had were, I think it was a, great, I think you guys made a very compelling case and then, yeah, I mean, that's kind of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that was on the front end. And you mentioned one of the projects. I'm going to dive into a few of the projects that we've partnered together on. But you mentioned the payroll project. And I do believe that became our first project together.
Correct.
Payroll's a little important. Can you talk a little bit about that project? How did it go? What was the result? And how did we partner together on that project?
Yeah, payroll was the first one, and that was really where that's where it all started, and that's how when we first chose the ERPA. That's how, right? The project, in short, was a great success. Payroll was a tremendous success. We were trying to address a lot of challenges. I won't mention previous vendors or anything like that, but accurate payroll processing, compliance, integration with third parties, and just from an accurate perspective, I mean, there was a bunch of things we were looking for that we felt that we were not getting with our partner at the time. We felt Workday was going to be a better product for us to take more control of the payroll. Like, we felt like we were lacking that control. ERPA was really able to come in and again, we don't know what we don't know. ERPA clearly had the subject matter expertise around payroll and was able to really build that value proposition around why Workday Payroll was such a good product. We know it's a good product in the sense that we've had some folks on our team that have worked with it in the past at some of the firm and this and that, but never at our company and how it impacts what we're doing and how we do payroll and how we do this and that. But at the end of the day, ERPA really was fundamental in putting the dots together, right? They really helped us look at how do we maximize this product and make the payroll experience what we want it to be, what we need it to be. And yeah, in short, again, like I said, it's been a tremendous success. We actually just we've wrapped up already. My payroll manager's not here, but yeah, I'm assuming we've done at least 4 payrolls, and we've already done our all like our special compensation processes for the year. So yeah, and those have been exceptionally smooth. So yeah, so far so good.
Awesome. So well said. Thank you for that. Yeah, payroll is it's by its very nature very complicated and complex, and there's so many ways to get it wrong. Yet it's so important to get it right. And I love what you said that yeah, the Workday payroll is a great product, but you do have to know how to do it, how to run it, how to maximize it. And yeah, thank you for that and sharing that story. Now, I think another project that we've worked on together is this studio integration. So, what was involved in that project? And also, what was the outcome related to the studio integration?
Yeah, for sure. So we worked on payroll was ongoing. It was going very smooth. And we found ourselves in the middle. I guess I could say it was a busy year for me last year, but while Workday payroll was happening, we were also in the middle of changing our talent acquisition system. and which again is a massive project.
Mhm.
And in this case, we were also, as we were undergoing this massive transformation, as I think most people that are in the HR space know, right? The talent acquisition system is such a kind of such a big part of your HR technology stack because of that interaction with the outside, right? So you think about HR technology, typically a lot of it is for internal consumption, right? But when you're building something for the outside or primarily for the outside, there's, you know, everything is a little heightened, and we want to really, again, maximize our technology, maximize our investment. We want to build a Workday Studio new hire integration. And again, we had some of the expertise, but not all of it. We really wanted to build a robust integration there, again, using Workday Studio. And we needed an extra pair of hands. I remember speaking to Derek and I said, yeah, hey, I need some help. And in a very short amount of time, we were able to find the right resource, agree on the scope, again, the flexibility from you guys is always very solid. And again, the style of working, it goes back to how
Yeah.
an ERP consultant was able to work with us. Really a very dynamic relationship, where we may start with this idea, but it could be some evolution, or there could be something that we have to change. So the flexibility was always really great. And us being able to be in the driver's seat, again, helped us because there's a lot of learning that we did throughout that. So again, that project finished. And and there's always going to be something wrong. With any integration, something will have to be fixed. Some field has to be added, this or that. It's a very normal thing. But that wasn't some major crisis. That wasn't some issue because we had worked so closely with you guys on building it that we knew everything that was in there. There's no surprises. Project was over. Maybe a couple months later, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? No problem. So it was successful, not just during and not just at the launch, but also after. And it's because there was no surprises for anyone. And again, the flexibility from the ERPA consultant at that time for that project was excellent. So yeah, again, another successful outcome and quite painless, I would say.
That's great. You've mentioned this term style, and I just love it so much. I don't think I've heard it described the way you've described it. It's such an intangible thing, and yet so important that you find that like for like style in a partner. It really makes a huge difference when you're working so closely together on important projects. So I'm really grateful that you're teasing out that very intangible sort of thing. It's hard to wrap your mind around what it is, but you're doing such a great job of describing how the styles of the teams working together really are so important. So good. Final project, I have a couple more questions, but a final project, the advanced comp implementation, I think. And then could you talk about ERPA's role in that project as well?
The last this was we actually just wrapped it up. I don't know, 2 weeks ago we just wrapped it
Okay.
up. So
Okay.
Advanced again, we sometimes, as self-sufficient as we are, we're also there's a couple of times a year where we may have a big exercise, a big project or something where we needed extra hands. And again, ERPA and very flexible for us. I was able to say, hey, I got this special comp exercise coming, right?
Mhm.
Where I'm going to be doing some extra work that's outside of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I may need I probably need someone with some advanced comp skills to help our team work on this and that, right? Really supplementing our own team. I'm not looking for heavy project management. I'm not looking for heavy business requirements, in terms of I need someone to help me with this. No, we kind of already know it. It's a process that's in place. It's something that we do maybe do on a recurring basis, but it's a big lift in a very short time.
Mhm.
So we need extra pair of hands.
Okay.
And again, that's exactly what we were able to get. Sure enough, on the advanced comp side, we were able to find a resource who was very knowledgeable. And then we need to do these 2, 3, 4, 5 things in the next 2, 3 months. And it was as simple as that. There was no extra stuff, no complexity around, nothing that wasn't needed was done, no conversation that was needed. And at that point, why that went that way was because there was a relationship already. And the same project manager,
Mm.
Stacy, who I maybe shouldn't say her name because I work with you guys. I really want Stacy to be there. She's a phenomenal project manager,
She's great.
and she knows how we work. We know how we know each other, right? And that means that we can have a very real conversation. There was actually the same consultant that worked on the studio integration was also part of the advanced compensation work. So everyone knows each other. And it's truly an accelerating, right? We go from having to have, this introduction and scoping and requirements and feeling each other out. Oh, how is this person going to work? Well, you can skip all that, right? And we just got into, first of all, it's an accelerator, right? So that means we're able to get to the point a lot faster, get to the work a lot faster, and deploy a lot faster. But also, from my experience, it's actually a time and cost saver, right? Because digitally, you don't less hours for this and that. So it really made the whole process very effective, very efficient. And it's always nice when you know who you're working with.
But that's not always the case, right? When you have a service partner, sometimes in some situations, I've heard the experience a number of times from people as they've described other or previous relationships. It's a ticketing system and the ticket goes to the next available stranger. And then you're right. You have to, it's a time and a cost to educate this person on your tenant setup, educate this person on your style, educate this person on what you want them to do versus what you want to keep in house and the swim lane you want to keep for yourself. So, do you find that's, I don't want anyone who's listening to think that it's a coincidence that you're getting the same people working on projects because that's built into our DNA and how we deliver our services, that you have returning rock stars and heroes coming in to help you who you already know them, their pets, their spouse. They know your tenant setup, they know your configuration. And your word that you used is such a beautiful word. It's an accelerator. It's just not a terribly common thing to have those named resources. And it is a cost and a time saver. Could you just talk a little bit more about that just in your 20 years of experience? Have you found it to be terribly common to have named resources, or do you find it more common to have a ticketing system that goes to the next available stranger that costs you time and money to get the person trained?
I could definitely say that typically such a personalized experience, although it would be wonderful to have every time, is not always there, right? The relationships, the partner can be impersonal, right? And it's not to say that you can't make it work, right? I mean, you can make everything work with the right teams, but for sure, from my experience, from what we have experienced so far, it really does. The benefits are significant, right? And for us, they've been great, right? It really has translated into success. And that's been key, right? And again, in line with our vision of creating frictionless experiences and just getting solutions to our customers, right? We have that focus, right? On, okay, what do we need to do? Let's get this into the hands of the folks that need to use it. The faster, easier, and less expensive we could do that, the better, right? That really translates into business value. I think that's an approach that I would love to see more, but it's not so common, right?
Right.
I don't think it is. Is it incredibly helpful? Yes, I would say so.
So you're expanding my vocabulary, Nick, and I love this. The whole notion of frictionless, and I fully get what you're saying, and I think all of our listeners do too. This beautiful word accelerator, and when you have the named resources, it's an accelerator that saves on cost and time. But you've also mentioned the style. And so I want to tease that out just a little bit more because I fully get that intangible thing, the style, the team fit. And you've told me as well, even before we jumped on this call, that you found ERPA to be a great fit for your team. So, in your own words, could you just tease that out a little bit more and what you mean by that?
The fit and the style go hand in hand, right? I think every group, right? Every group has a style, right? That you may not know it, you may not realize it, or you may obviously, but there's a style that is like a product of how a team comes together and they do work, right? So you know we have an approach that is really customer centric, where we want to again deliver um, in an accurate, fast, and cost effective way to reduce the interactions that our customers need to have with the solutions that we bring to the table. That's a style, right? First of all, and that comes with also as an example, right? We're afraid to make mistakes, no, right? I mean, because we know we can get something wrong. We do get stuff wrong. But it's about, okay, let's do it. We're gonna learn a lot as we do, and we'll fix, right? And we'll learn and we'll fix and we'll learn and we'll improve. Notice, learn, fix, learn, improve. That's a key thing, right? So it's a bit of a cycle there. We and what you have there is a stop, right? And there's a certain agility that we really subscribe to, that we really believe to, right? So I don't see us as a team that we want to plan a deployment for 6, 7 months, plan to do this and this. So we'll work that maybe the actual, like the technical deployment maybe takes like a month or something, right? So it just seems like a little bit, or maybe not strange. Maybe there's teams that do subscribe to that, but I'd rather get it moving. So the fee is it comes as part of the team, also being able to adapt to that style. And we knew right away that ERPA was there for it, right? I mean, it was like, okay, well, we can, we can tweak this, we can tweak this, we can change how we schedule these different milestones. I could just tell there was a lot of flexibility in the whole planning. It wasn't like, here's a plan, here's how we're going to do it. There you go. And that's it, right? It was, no, let's plan this together. How do you guys see this working, and what's going to make you comfortable? And being comfortable is not just because, oh, I like working this way. No, it's not really just that reason. We find that approach works better. Again, for us, it's important that we learn, right? So when we're doing, and the faster we get to the doing is the faster that we get to start learning what we're doing too, right? So I just don't want to be sitting there talking about, we're going to plan this and then we're going to do that. And let's shorten the time that we're going to plan how to do something, and let's actually start the doing. Yeah, I don't think that flexibility is always there, right?
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of partners and a lot of firms that have, I'm sure, very tried and tested approach, which probably has worked for them. I have no doubt, right? Because we're not the only ones that are successfully deploying anything, right? There's a million firms that are also able to launch this successfully, launch that successfully, but it's a tough. So, that's really what it is. So we saw the fit in terms of there's a company that can work with the same style path.
Yeah, I'm happy that we've found the right fit together. You've mentioned flexibility and adaptability and agility. Agility is one of our 4 company core values that we cherish. And I'm happy to hear that you're experiencing that
Yeah.
in our ERPA services. That's great. Nick, that's all of my prepared questions. Just want to ask, just as a final question, is there anything else you want to add? Maybe something that you thought of to say, but didn't necessarily come up in answering any of my questions.
It's been great working with you guys. We've had a nice journey so far. I'm sure there'll be some other journeys, and the Workday partner network, it keeps expanding. There's a lot of options, right? For us, we don't take the decisions lightly. We really have to find a partner, and again, that we know we can be successful with. So while there's a lot of partners, we feel so far we've been confident in the work you guys are able to help us with. So yeah, that's basically it. We look forward to a few more adventures together.
Awesome. Yeah. And you've got a long-term relationship with Workday, and yet still relatively new relationship between MSCI and ERPA, but we look
That's
forward
correct.
to we look forward to a great journey together.
Awesome, Jeff.
Cool.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to The Possibility Perspective. If you'd like to talk to ERPA about what's next in your Workday journey, be sure to visit erpa.com.